from the book Angels Never Die by Shahram Mardizadagan ***. Hello my lovely friends, I'm Shahram Mardizadagan. The story I'm going to tell you today is one of the 40 stories from the book Angels Never Die. This story is called The Greatness of Love. I've written this book myself, and since it's not possible to send the book everywhere, I've tried to share the short stories from this book on YouTube. Right then, let's get on with the story The Greatness of Love. The mother was writhing in pain. Her son stood in the corner of the surgery, looking miserable and upset. He'd asked the doctor's receptionist once or twice to let them through to the examination room a bit earlier, given his mum's condition. A few minutes felt like hours, until finally, with the agreement of the other patients who were sat waiting their turn in the surgery, the mother and her son went into the doctor's room and very quickly came out with a piece of paper in hand. The son ran to his old Peugeot and started it up, and a bit later, his mum reached him with slow, shaky steps. The mother's tears wounded her son's heart. The son sped towards the nearest sonography centre he knew, and as soon as he got there, he begged and pleaded so much that they did his mum's kidney scan in the very first slot. After that, downstairs, with 2 painkiller injections, they got rid of his mum's pain to a very large extent. The son took his mum home, and even though he was absolutely knackered from all that waiting about, he headed back to the doctor's surgery to show him the scan results. But he hadn't even got halfway down the street when he spotted an elderly woman, 75 years old, walking with a stick in her hand, taking 2 steps and then stopping in a corner. He hit the brakes, stopped the car and asked, "Mother, where are you going?" The old woman sighed and said, "I'm going to my mum's house." The son smiled and thought to himself, is it even possible for this lady, at this age, to have a mum? He was wrapped up in these thoughts when the old woman asked, "Son, can you give me a lift?" And then she looked at him for a moment, and when she saw the son nodding his head in agreement with a smile, she said quietly, "God bless you, son. I'll come with you then." And at the same time, she opened the door with difficulty, got in with great effort, and said, "You're an angel, son. God sent you to me." The car set off. 2 or 3 minutes later, the old woman, with her glasses that had one of the arms half broken, looked at him and said, "Son, where have you come from? Which way were you heading? I don't want to take you out of your way." Then she paused a bit, and when she saw the son's mind was elsewhere, she carried on a bit louder, "Just say the word, I'll get out wherever you like." The son, who'd only heard the old woman's last sentence, replied, "Dear mother, don't say that, it's nothing really. I think of you like my own mum." In any case, the old woman's mum's house was far away. It took half an hour to reach the address she was giving. Her mum's house was in Farrock Passage. They went through several winding, narrow alleyways, until finally they arrived and the car stopped in front of a door the old woman pointed out. Moments later, with the same difficulty, she got out, and before reaching the door, said, "Son, you go now." And then she continued, "I'll go and ring the doorbell now." The son asked, "Dear mother, how old is your mum?" The old woman pulled an innocent face and said, "Maybe about 100, maybe more." Then she continued with a sort of reassurance, "But she can do all her own things herself, she doesn't need anyone." The old woman took 2 or 3 steps towards the door, and with that same kind face of hers, turned to the son and said, "I've only got this mum, son. My joy is in this old mum of mine. I haven't got anyone or anything else." The son stood for a minute until the old woman rang the doorbell, and then someone from inside the house opened the door for her. The son's mind was at ease now that the old woman wasn't left standing at the door. So he was about to drive off, and at the same time he kept his eye on her, waiting for the old woman to go inside and close the door. But at that very moment, the old woman, with her stick and bent back, suddenly turned around and looked at the son and smiled. And then when she saw that the son was still watching her, just like a 20-year-old girl, she waved at him. The son, For one moment, seeing that wave and that smile and that state of the old woman, a lump pressed in his throat and a tear dropped from his eye. The old woman had seen him waiting, and she'd felt how important it was to the son whether she went inside or not, and that her existence mattered so much that the son had kept an eye on her and looked after her and waited for her sake. What a beautiful feeling it was, seeing the glory and greatness, the flotation and coyness mixed with the thought of being loved, especially from an old woman, and that all of us, whatever age we are, need to matter to someone or to some people. The end ***.